Hi everyone. Well, a lot has been going on in our world since we last caught up. I guess we've been having some first world challenges with trying to get a Wi-Fi connection, and then I had a problem with my iPhone for some reason. It wouldn't record video, so all sorts of little technical hiccups. But the good news is we're back, and I wanted to do a quick catch up just to get us back where we left off on our last video. So I think at that point we were down in the Saints, a group of islands on the south of Guadeloupe, and our plan was to make our way up to Deshaies on the northwest of Guadeloupe to get ready for our kind of first open Atlantic journey across to Antigua. So first of all, got across from the Saints without any sort of hiccups. We had a blistering sail across the open water passage to the south of Guadeloupe, and kind of we were hitting speeds of 8 or 9 knots under sail, which was exhilarating. And as expected, as we got into the lee of Guadeloupe and started making our way north up the island, we did lose some of the wind, and we had to motor sail some of the way up to Deshaies. But everything went without hitch, and we made good timing. So I think we left early, maybe around 7 a.m. from the Saints, and we got into Deshaies around 1 p.m. The only thing to note really was the number of lobster pots, as we entered into Deshaies. And this is kind of a phenomenon that we've noticed around the Caribbean. And for any of you sailors watching this video, you'll know that lobster pots are the bane of a sailor's life, just mostly because you're worried about catching them in your prop and so on and so forth. And in the case of the Caribbean, what we've noticed is that the fishermen use, they don't really mark the pots terribly well. They use, kind of small plastic bottles as the marking, and they're very, very close together. So it's literally like kind of entering a lobster pot minefield, and you're trying to navigate the boat through them all. Anyway, no real issues. Got ourselves anchored in Deshaies, very pretty little kind of fishing village. And our focus then moved to getting ourselves prepped for going to Antigua. And, one of the things that we've come to learn here is that although the islands are very close together, so Antigua is only 50 miles north of Guadeloupe, they are very independent, and effectively you are moving from one country to another, so they take customs and immigration really seriously. So we wanted to make sure that we had all our flags, that we had all our paperwork in order, and so on and so forth. And then on top of that, of course, we all now have the complication of COVID. So we had read that Antigua were, instead of PCR, they were accepting an antigen test. And in our naivety, I guess any time as a family that we had administered or we'd taken an antigen test, it had been self-administered. So we'd done it at home with a kit. And we double checked the website for Antigua, and we had brought a number of antigen kits with us, and definitely the type we were using was compliant with what they wanted. But we took the test on the boat here, I guess last Saturday morning, just literally before we were about to set sail. And it suddenly dawned on us, well, how's anyone going to know that we did this properly, and so on and so forth. And of course, the way they know that is you get it done properly in a medical center. A little late to kind of think about that, and we had a really perfect weather window for the crossing. So, to be honest, my call was, let's put the marine and the boat safety conditions first, and let's worry about the health stuff afterwards. So that's exactly what we did. We set sail a little later because we were hemming and hawing a little bit about it, but we set sail about 9:30 and headed off out to Antigua. As soon as we cleared the northern part of Guadeloupe, the wind kind of freshened. I think we had, probably 20-22 gusting upwards breeze, and then the ocean swell started kicking in. So we'd some pretty big seas as well. But the whole boat handled well. We'd we'd one reef in the main, and a couple of turns in on the Jenny as well. So the boat handled very well, and what was really important was to keep a little bit above our rum line, the rum line being the direct course that we needed to be on. And the reason we needed to stay above that course was because there's a 1 to 2 knot current out here that takes you westward. So if you don't take that into consideration, you can end up with a little surprise when you get to your destination that you're actually, quite a number of miles off course. So that all worked well. We hand steered because of the seas. All of the crew pitched in, and we made landfall then in Antigua at around 4:30 on Saturday afternoon. And for me personally, I think that's one off the bucket list. To sail into Antigua was an amazing experience. The clearance port there is English Harbour. It is probably the best known from a sailing tradition point of view. Huge amount of history in Nelson's Dock. I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But we needed to know what to do to clear health. So there was a VHF channel that we had to call the Port Authority on, and they advised us to drop anchor in Freeman's Bay, which was a little bay just on as you enter into English Harbour. And it was starting to get a little dark at that stage, so literally we were getting ourselves settled, and a rib arrives up beside us with 3 local guys in it. And they said, hey, we're the local port authority, here's your paperwork that we'd like you to fill in. So literally by torchlight in the anchorage, we started filling in all of these forms. And, the antigen test was literally a yes or no question, which of course we ticked the yes box. The guys went off, and 15 minutes later they came back and stamped everything with health cleared. And my oh my, there was a sigh of relief here that we were good. And they said, okay, tomorrow morning, which was Sunday morning, you can go ashore. And as is the norm, the captain is allowed to go to shore with all of the paperwork, and the crew stays on board until the boat is cleared. And just as a kind of formality, how you know the status of a boat is when you get into the anchorage, you raise the Q flag, which is a yellow flag. You raise it off your starboard spreader along with the flag of the country, in this case Antigua, that you're visiting, and that indicates that you're waiting to be cleared. So next morning, I hopped in the dinghy, went ashore, and as I said, paperwork is very important to the guys here. It was a reasonably efficient process, but I went from customs to immigration to customs, and then back again to immigration, and then finally to Port Authority, where they stamped everything and signed us in. You have to fill out all of the boat details, and I guess they need to make sure that the boat doesn't have anything kind of outstanding in relation to tax or VAT or anything like that. And then of course individually, we've kind of got a passport control where I've got to clear in all of the crew. So absolutely delighted to say that went smoothly. Got the final stamp, and the lady in the Port Authority goes kind of, welcome to Antigua, man. And I'm thinking, okay, we're here. So back to the boat, and we brought Bermuda into Nelson's dockyard, and the way they tie up there is you drop the anchor and then you back the boat up onto the quay wall where there's water and electricity, which was a little bit of a luxury as we had been unplugged, for I guess the previous week or so, and starting to run a little low. So Nelson's dockyard, though, as a sailor, is a phenomenal experience. It dates back to the 1700s from the time of Nelson, and they've restored all of the buildings, really, really nicely. Lots of stone and wood and all of that sort of stuff, and as I said, steeped in history. We spent 2 days there. We were docked right next to the galley bar, coincidentally. So we ended up running a little bit of a tab there and got to know the guys behind the bar pretty well at the end of the stay. Points of note, brilliant hike out to Fort Berkeley, which really took us across the peninsula. So there's 2 main bays really in the south of Antigua. The first is English Harbour, like we just spoke about, and then there's Falmouth. And Falmouth Harbour is kind of a huge space, and it's best known for all of the super yachts that come in there, and literally just one is bigger than the next. So on the walk to Fort Berkeley, it's actually a pretty narrow isthmus of land that separates the two. It's like a 10-minute walk, and so we went across to Fort Berkeley and down then the other side into Pigeon Beach, and we then took the boat around to Falmouth Harbour. And for me, the anchorage we found there off Pigeon Beach was just fantastic. We were literally watching all of the super yachts go by. I think I posted on Instagram the other day where we had a 50-meter sailboat kind of tottle on by, with all of the crew. But literally, it is a brilliant vibe ashore as well. So, you know, you kind of get your dinghy and you go into Falmouth, and it's just full of sailors kind of hanging out, you know, getting bits fixed on their boat, you know, chatting about where they're going to next, all of that sort of stuff. And definitely, you know, I think with Antigua, the people were really super friendly, and you know, your conversation always starts with, hey, how are you doing today? And it's not just saying that so that you can get in with your ask, it's saying that because you genuinely want to hear what they say, and so you need to slow down a little bit. So I think that's just brilliant. So you know, you kind of get into the headspace of you know, just kind of kicking back a little bit and kind of getting into that island lifestyle, and just having a little bit more time for everyone, which is kind of obviously a nice thing to do. So what's next and where are we now? I had, I guess, try to put this video together yesterday when we were sitting in Falmouth Harbour, but as I said, we've had some technical issues. We headed out from Falmouth yesterday, and I'm kind of nearly losing track of my days, but I think we were in Thursday yesterday, we're now Friday morning, and we made a 10-mile journey upwind to the easternmost tip of Antigua, to a beautiful little spot called Nonsuch Bay. So I guess it gets the name Nonsuch because of the boat that came in here 50 odd years ago and kind of discovered the place. We're here anchored with just one other yacht, and to get in was quite challenging. You had to go in at noon when the sun is highest in the sky so that you can see the coral reefs, because there's no navigation marks or anything like that, and the charts are a little out in this area. So you can't rely on navionics and things like that. You need to navigate by sight. And the corals, of course, are a natural thing, so they're growing all the time. So what was good 2 years ago in the guidebook may not be exactly the case today. So this was kind of a new experience navigating like that for us. So we kind of had everyone, you know, out on the sides of the boat, kind of looking down and looking ahead so that we could, you know, make out any of the reefs. And once we spotted the reef and had identified it, then we could come up into this little bay called Ricketts Bay, where we're anchored right now. You can probably see some of it behind me here. There's just a glorious little beach in there. And it kind of felt like we were the first people to walk on it when we went ashore yesterday. And also, as soon as we come into anchor, we had two baby turtles kind of show their heads and start swimming beside us. So it's kind of that sort of spot. It's a little bit off grid, but delighted to see that we had Digicel signal so I could get this video uploaded. So our plan is we're going to spend a couple of days here. So we were here last night, and we'll stay again here tonight. We're now we're getting towards the end of our time in Antigua, so we're trying to get ourselves set up to get back to Guadeloupe, and we're thinking it's antigen test again, but we've learned our lesson. We're going to try and get that done in Antigua, and then maybe on Sunday we'll you know, make the move to get back to Deshaies again, where we clear customs. And then get ourselves set up to go to our next island south, which is to Dominica. Starting to form a loose plan now because, you know, we're getting a clearer picture of things, and assuming the weather is compliant, you know, we think we'll be down into Martinique, you know, for Christmas. But kind of watching that. Sorry, just grabbing the camera there before it goes. But we'll play that a little bit by ear. So I think that's all on our side. Thanks for watching, and looking forward to catching up with you soon. Bye for now.